I am so excited to introduce Brenna. When I first moved to Ely, for a second, I'm going to take you back 3 years ago and came to Tuesday Group. One of my favorite things was that it was such a great introduction to the community, and it got me connected socially as well as in ways that met the needs that I had coming to town and meeting new people. They were able to connect me with resources and information and other groups. That was a fantastic piece of what Tuesday Group offers. And so I'm very excited to introduce Brenna. She's going to talk about her new business, BK Coordination. You probably know Brenna from working at the Gel. She's done Tuesday Group serving and also at the Marketessen. And she has a bachelor's in sociology. She and her fiance live in town with their two cats. Lauren's here. Hi, Lauren. It's very exciting. And Brenna has launched this new business, BK Coordination, to do just what Tuesday Group did for me, which is connect people to resources and support around town. And I can't wait to hear more about what she is up to. So welcome, Brenna.
Hi, you guys. Can everybody hear me okay? Got it. I'm going to do my best to speak slowly because I'm nervous, but I'm so happy to be here on the other side of the podium today. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Gel, right? Grand Ely Lodge, thank you for hosting every week for Tuesdays. We are so joyous to be here. To the Grand Ely Lodge staff, the servers today, Beth and Scotty, as well as all the kitchen people, we just thank them. They do hard work all year round. And you know that because you're here with us on Tuesdays. So, and gratuity is not added anymore. So please feel free to tip as needed. I also want to say a quick shout out, thank you to Boundary Waters Connect. Jeff and Lacey, you guys have been amazing. And I'm so honored to be here to speak today. So, and again, happy birthday, Jess. It's all about Jess today, actually. Finally, I just want to thank all of you here in person for showing up. It means the world to me to see your faces every week, but especially a week that it's a little gloomy out and we're waiting for this weather to change. So thank you for being here. And hello to our online friends. Thank you for also watching online. And for those that are going to watch the recording later. Let me find this thing here. The Changemaker Within. Let's get started. So I'm going to talk a little bit about myself, give you guys a little bit of information about who I am. For those who do or don't know me, my name is Brenna Kolstad. I live here in Ely with my fiance, Lauren, and our two cats, Jinx and Juniper. A little bit of background, I grew up in St. Cloud, Minnesota. I graduated 2010 from the Apollo Senior High School. I did PSEO at St. Cloud State for a year, my senior year, which was fun and it was a little expensive. So I did my associate's degree at the tech college there. And I graduated with that degree in 2017. 5 years later, I enrolled in Metro State University, where I completed my bachelor's degree in social science. Sociology was my major because I love people. My minor was in family studies because I also love families. And that's my education. But as far as like what I do, making the money, I've done a lot, actually. I've worked in different places, fast food, retail, childcare, grocery management, been through a lot of different jobs. And currently in Ely, I actually hold 3. So the Gel, where I serve and host, is only one of the jobs that I have. The second job is PCA work. I do CFSS support staff for a client of mine. Very fulfilling. And the third job that I have is my own business, which is BK Coordination, where I'm going to tell you more about that at the end. I want to also mention a couple other things that I do around town. Volunteering with the Ely Food Shelf is one of them. I love seeing people there. Also with the Ely Palestine Solidarity Group, one of the members in that. And I just recently volunteered for the Ely Film Fest this year. It was a lot of fun. So lots of stuff to do in Ely. We all know this. Wonderful community, and definitely decided to make it our home. Can't forget karaoke. I love it. So that's also something you should know about me. But on a deeper level, I want to kind of get real with you guys for a second. I want to talk about some of my values and my beliefs, because we're going to be touching on values and beliefs today. The 7 values that I have listed here are both in Anishinaabe-Moan and English. They are the 7 grandfather teachings. I am not Indigenous, not trying to culturally appropriate, but these are things, values that I hold dear. They are respect, love, truth, bravery or courage, wisdom, generosity, and humility. I also have several beliefs that I want to share with you. We all come with our own beliefs. These are just a few of mine that really set the core. Walk the walk, don't talk the talk, right? Say what you mean what you say. Energy is neither created nor destroyed, which we can get a spiritual talk another day. Talk to me about that later. Humans are good and bad. That's crazy. We can be both, but it's true. And everyone has what they need within themselves to shape their world for the better. This last point I want to touch on because this is going to be leading us into change making, which is what we're going to be talking about today. But the last belief I want to share comes from somebody very special to me. My grandpa, Roger Kolstad, told me, he had told me a lot, but one of the things that really stuck was there's no such thing as can't. And there isn't. He passed away April 30th of this year, and I've been dealing with that. But he was a wonderful man and taught me lots. And when I think about no such thing as can't, every time I feel stuck or just can't do this, I think about him. I think about these words and it helps me. So what does everything that I've just shared with you have to do with why we're here today? Well, like I said, it sets the foundation for change making. But what is a change maker? Let's talk about that. So change maker definition, you will see on your handouts as well for reference. Definition is a being who deliberately chooses their actions to reflect their inner beliefs and values. Okay. We're just going to answer some questions in our heads, or excuse me, we're going to say the question out loud. You're going to answer it in your head. Do you agree with this definition? Yes or no? Why or why not?
I thought a change maker was someone that sits behind the counter and you give them
Does the definition of a change maker say that they're good or bad, right or wrong? Just something to peruse in your mind. And lastly, this one we can all answer together. Who can be a change maker? It's anyone. Anyone can be a change maker. Based on this definition, a being who deliberately chooses their actions to reflect their inner beliefs and values. Sounds so easy, right? So maybe let's get into a couple of things here, talk a little bit more about change making. So why become a change maker? There are change making that is active, which we're going to be talking about today, and change making that's passive. So the three things that I want to mention as to why you should become a change maker: mind your bobber. When you're fishing, you focus on your bobber, not Bob's bobber. Basically, you can only control yourself, period. End of the day, you can only control yourself. Being a change maker allows yourself to really take that control and say, this is what I can do. And that change making allows you to focus on that can instead of looking around at what you cannot do, right? Mind that bobber, learn how to control it. The second one is humans make errors. Who knew? Accepting failure and imperfection as part of process builds a sense of confidence in at least trying, right? If you don't accept that, you were never going to try. I can't do that. But what did Grandpa say? All right. And the last one is change comes from within. There is no need to look outside of yourself for answers because you already have what you need to make change today, right now within you. Okay, we all hold those keys. So now that we know why you want to become a change maker, let's talk about the types of change you can make, right? So there are three types of change that we can make in this world. There is personal change, there is communal change, and there is collective change. So we're going to talk about that. Personal change is change in the area that will impact you directly, yourself, right? Examples of this could include you walking every day. Maybe you have a garden that you're gardening. Maybe you're trying to just decrease your screen time, phones and TVs alike. All of those examples will allow you to make the change for yourself, and it will better yourself. The next is communal. Now, communal change will impact your community directly. Now, when I say community, of course, I mean all of you, but really what I'm talking about is your inner circle, right? The people that you know, not necessarily the larger Ely community, but it could be. This type of change, is that direct people relation. So examples of that could be taking a class, right? Maybe at the folk school, maybe learning something different with community members, with your friends. Attending city meetings, right? Going to town hall and learning about city council and what the heck is going on in the town that you live in. That's a communal change. And volunteering. That's a great way to get out there, learning about other people and feel good and help in the same time, right? All a very direct impact for the community change. And finally, we have collective change. Now we're talking direct impact to humanity, to the overall world, the collective. We're talking big, okay? This change looks like various examples. One of the big ones is organizing, right? So let's say that you realize maybe contented critters need some more food for the animals that are needing also pet sitters that I've heard today. You may organize with a couple people, friends, and say, I'm gonna get a food drive together for some pets and we're going to donate. You organize with people off of a shared goal. That's part of a collective change because you're making that direct impact to the collective. Another example could be mutual aid. And Ely is a great place to talk about mutual aid because we all see a need, we fill a need. I don't think that there's anybody that I could look at in this room today who, even if you don't know me, wouldn't help me in a pickle, right? And lastly, the real thing I want to get at with collective change is that you have to blend the personal and the communal, because when you care for yourself, right, and you care for the people around you, and that mindset goes to every single person around the world, well, isn't that collective change? Aren't we all changing? It's just hard to see it because it's so localized, but that's what that is. All right, so now that we know about the types of change and the examples, and also this types of change you can affect your personal self, could affect the community, could affect the collective, doesn't have to be one, but could be mentioning of all of them. So now I'm going to talk and give a few examples of some people who I would consider as change makers. Two examples of people who I believe align their values and beliefs with their actions. The first change maker is a devoted woman, Miss Shirley Raines. She advocated and cared for homeless people living in Skid Row and Las Vegas. Her story of care began after the death of her son, and her twin sister was begging her to find a positive way to cope with the death. So, too far. We got to back it up. Miss Shirley Raines, raise your hand if you know who I'm talking about, Miss Shirley Raines. Okay. She, like I said, had been reaching out to folks in Skid Row, and her twin sister had said, you got to find something to deal with your grief. And so what she ended up doing was she took her grief and she started passing out food and water to folks living in Skid Row, just from her car, just passing it out. And then she would stop in Skid Row, meet and talk to people and start braiding their hair, cutting their hair, because she had mentioned homeless folks really need that physical touch. It's something that they lack because of society. And so she really stepped up to the plate. Again, her beliefs and values show that she cared for people who were downtrodden, and her actions aligned with that. And that's why I believe she's a change maker. Sadly, she also died this year, and her legacy, though, and all of her care work live on in her nonprofit, Beauty to the Streets. And so the work continues, even though Miss Shirley is not with us anymore, and she is Miss Shirley. The next person, you may got a little flashpoint there. You guys probably know this change maker. You know Mr. Rogers from the kids' TV program, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Now, Fred Rogers believed in uplifting and supporting families and their children through public television. The show ran for 32 years, plus there was an additional 4 episodes after 9/11. Fred Rogers actually, oh no, guys, oh my gosh, too many buttons, I'm sorry. Fred Rogers passed away from stomach cancer in 2003. However, he did come out of retirement in 2001 to speak to families and children about 9/11. And again, his advocacy, his values and beliefs of caring for others and children's and the passion showed up in his actions, which is why I consider him a change maker. And same thing, he's memorialized and people he inspires every day. We see that it's spread, right? Oh, one second, I'm gonna grab a sip of water. Now we can move on. So the last example of a change maker is you. Oh my gosh, who knew? You guys. So we're going to go through a few actions that you might think are maybe just everyday actions, but I actually think that they're part of something larger. So let's talk about that. So these are several examples that I think make you a change maker. Educating yourself and others. When you learn something and you share that something that you just learned with somebody else, well, that's a change that's been made. The more you know. Learning and sharing with each other can help us change in that way, right? Educating each other. Calling a friend to check in. If you call somebody, you're checking on their well-being, you're interested in their person, making sure they're okay. That phone call that you just made probably changed their day, right? Probably changed your day too. Another example is donating food to the food shelf. It's a great way to feel good about yourself and help others in need. And that makes a change directly to the people in the community, right? Next, we have letting neighbors' dogs out. Don't forget to let them back in. We definitely care for our neighbors and we care for their pets because that's what we do up here, right? And another example is just picking up litter. No matter where I go, I care about this world, whether I'm living in northern Minnesota or I've lived in Texas, I've lived in Missouri. It doesn't matter where I step, I'll be picking up litter because taking care of the world is an important value to me and a belief that I have. Now, are these simply kind gestures or behaviors that reflect internal beliefs? I'll let you decide. So we've talked about what a change maker is. You've got the definition on your handout. We talked about who are the change makers. You've seen some examples and you've seen examples in yourself. And we've also talked about the types of change we can make, personal, communal, and collective. So now let's talk about the change making process, okay? Now, again, this can be found on your handout. We're gonna go through the steps together. The first step in any change making process is, aha, you have an idea. Maybe you think, wouldn't this be great? Wouldn't the town be better off having this? And you get this idea in your head and you're just so excited about it, right? Now, two things can happen. You get an idea, okay? And one of the things that can happen is you get so excited about your idea and then you start thinking about what are the steps to get this idea of mine into reality? Start thinking about realistic expectations. Ooh, I don't have enough money. Ooh, I don't have enough time. Oh gosh, I just don't think I have the skills to do that. Maybe somebody else will do it. And you just let it go, let it be an idea, right? But when there's an idea that you have that you just can't get it out of your head. You are coming back to this idea over and over again, and you're like, I think this would be really, really helpful. I want to put this together. This is where the next step comes in. You're going to align your aspirations. Okay, what does that mean? You're going to take your idea and you're going to align it with your values and beliefs. Now, this isn't something that you have to sit and check off. This is my value. This is my belief. You're going to feel it. Okay, this is how you're going to know. When you have an idea that's so good, so exciting, you're going to feel that passion. You're going to feel that inspiration. You're going to feel motivated. You are going to feel like you want to get out of your seat and get the damn thing done, right? That's how you can tell that you're aligned with your values and beliefs, is you feel it in your body. This step is probably one of the most important steps in the change-making process, because if you go without this step, and follow the next two steps without this, you can make change, but it won't be under your values and beliefs. So let's look at the next two steps here. You've got that idea in your head. You're ready to make it happen. You say, I'm going to do it. You're going to plan that process. So what are the steps to make your idea a reality, right? You're going to think about that. And then once you got that process down, I got to do X, Y, Z before I do 1, 2, 3, make that process. You start actualizing the change. You're going to start working on those steps that you just had for your dream, right? And then what's going to happen? You're going to get all excited. You make those steps and you're going to fail hard. You're going to fail. You're going to fail. Oh, I know it, right? It kind of sucks. Oh, failure. Or should we be excited about it because it's actually part of the process? Let me tell you about this. When you hit a roadblock, you have an idea, you start doing something and you say, gosh, dang it, now my project's ruined. I won't be able to do this. I'm stuck. I can't. For Roger, there's no such thing as can't. Oh, that's right. So then you come back and you say, you know what? You're going to start the process again. You're going to get another idea that says, I think this is a solution to this problem, this failure that I've run up against when you hit that wall. And you say, I think I've got another idea. And there's the process again. Then you go back, you feel it, you feel aligned in your body. You say, I'm ready to do this and fix this. I'm going to repair this. And then you start planning that process. Now, these are the next steps, A, B, C. I'm going to do these steps instead. You start actualizing that change and you do it all again. And then when you hit failure again, you're not going to be scared about it. You're not going to run away because you know that that's part of the process, right? So again, this is the change-making process, but want to emphasize that the most important part of this process, a lot of people get stuck in the idea phase, is the second one, which is aligning your aspirations, the thematic sensations that you feel that get you excited about what change you want to bring into the world, okay? And again, personal, communal, or collective, doesn't have to be big changes, okay? So I want to walk you through real quick before we get into the process. I'm going to give you an example of what this looks like in real time. But I want to talk about deliberate choices, because if you were to, I'm going to go back real quick. If you were to go through this process without aligning your aspirations and feeling excited and feeling motivated, you're going to plan a process. You're going to make ideas. You're going to say, yeah, I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to go see my mom down south in the cities or something. And you're gonna actualize the change. You're gonna take the steps. You're gonna drive there. You're gonna meet her. Maybe you weren't feeling so excited. Maybe there is something missing, and that piece is really the puzzle to get that motivation going. Because if you don't have that, you're gonna come to the failure part, and you're gonna say, "Forget it." So, how do we make sure that we don't get to the failure and hit that wall? Right? Here's what we're gonna do. It's on your sheet. How to make the deliberate choices. Okay. You're going to pull out your conscience compass. Some people call it a moral compass, your conscience compass. And on the handout, you're going to see 3 questions. Okay. First question you're going to ask yourself, because by the way, you go on a camping trip. A lot of us like to up here or hike. You're going to plan ahead and look at the weather. You're going to pack your backpack. You're going to make sure you got all your stuff. So we're going to do the same thing before you make a big change. You're going to check yourself before we wreck ourselves. Okay. So our conscience compass, 3 questions. Who am I? Pretty big question. What am I doing? And where am I going? If you can answer these 3 questions, you can answer those. You've got your moral compass ready to go. Because if you bring that with you, you know who you are, you know what you're doing, and you know where you're going. Who's going to stop you? Yourself, probably. But again, we'll talk about that. So that is your moral compass, your conscious compass, okay? The next step that you want to do is, and you can't really see it, sorry, the blue's blending in, is inventory of values. Now, if you flip your hand out over, you're going to see a list of values on the back. These values are ones I just threw together. They don't recognize, it's not an exhaustive list. Of course, you can add on, but you can take these home today and look at these, add on to them, circle the ones that are most important to you. You'll see underneath beliefs as well. You'll see just options for yourself to write down some of these ideas. So this is a take-home sheet, not a test. And again, these values, just looking at them kind of give you an idea of what you want to bring on your change-making journey, right? So you've got your inventory of values. You know what your values are. The next step is your backpack of beliefs. Let's pack our beliefs in the bag, right? Let's go. Now, some beliefs are kind of like when you go on a trip, you're like, oh, I think I overpacked a little bit. That can happen with beliefs too. You might learn something new from a belief and you might want to unpack that and leave it somewhere else. That's okay. Beliefs change, values change. It's just good to know what they are. Don't shame yourself, but know what your beliefs are, know what your values are. That's important. And then finally, you're gonna listen to your body, because before going on a trip or packing somewhere to go, if you're feeling ill, you're not gonna go. If you're not feeling right, that tells you something. Your body's really intuitive instrument. And if you listen to it, it'll tell you what you should be doing. You just got to pay attention. So listen to the body before you take those next steps. But once you have your conscious compass, you've got your values, you've got your beliefs, and you're feeling good, now we're ready to choose our own adventure. And I'm not holding the book and saying, oh, I went to the chapter and I died and now I got to go back. You guys remember those books? Choose Your Own Adventure books? Yes. Okay, kind of like that. But so now that we're here, we're ready. You follow all these steps to make those deliberate choices. You can't fail when you align your aspirations. Okay, so that's going to help you make that shift into being an active change maker. All right. Okay, so now we're going to take a second and imagine together. All right, I'm going to walk you through a real life example of a change maker, local. And we're going to go through the change making process in real time. Okay, so just imagine for a second. My fiance Lauren, who's back there, she, first off, is simply the best. I could do a whole slide about her too, but she had a idea. She looked around and saw at the Northridge Credit Union, there was a food pantry, like shelf that you could take food out of. And it inspired her to have her own in the yard. And at first it was just an idea, talked about it, talked with friends about it. Okay. And she was thinking about it. But how are we going to turn this idea into reality? Here's what we did. Here's what she did. Now, again, remember this step, align your aspirations is a thematic feeling. So you don't have to check box things off. It just is a feeling. Okay. So we're going to dive a little bit into Lauren's beliefs here. Now, some of these didn't pop up, but one of Lauren's beliefs is food is a human right. Right. Another belief that she has is there's a good meal. You should never underestimate a good meal. Another thing that she believes is feeling full will allow you to complete other tasks. And so all of these things, her beliefs, sharing is caring is a value that she holds. All of these are the core foundation. So when she had this idea, it aligned with how she felt. So she's on to step 3. Now she's planning that process, right? Okay. What does that look like? This is the process Lauren went through. She started looking around Ely, started gathering inspiration from other book and food shelf pantries around town, seeing what sizes they were, how big, what she wanted to make, kind of get some inspiration. The next step is she'd overheard someone talk about a class for wood shop at the school over here. So she reached out, talked to the person, registered, paid the fee, signed up for the class. She said, great, now I've got a space to build. But what the heck am I building? Well, her teacher there told her, you better have like 3 projects just in case we have an idea. So she started designing the structure that she wanted to make. After she figured out what she wanted to make, she began to purchase the materials that were needed. And then she hauled those materials from the lumberyard to the school, right? Got to bring it there. And for 6, 8, 10, I don't remember how long, it was a long time. She went every single week to take care of this project, to work on it. And when I tell you that she would come home some nights and talk about the frustrations, the failures that she hit because a certain screw didn't go through, or the wood didn't work right or something, she was actively going through the change making process as she was building. So even before the final product, she was already failing and restarting that process actively, right? So finally, what happened? We got it home. She brought the food pantry into the yard. She went through and painted it. She stained it. We left the doors open so it could breathe and air out. And it was so windy. The next day, 2 days later, the door broke. So we had to put a note on it saying, sorry, please don't use this yet. We're not ready. So it was a bummer. She was really devastated. And one of our neighbors helped us out. He's a construction worker, and we had some extra wood in the garage that was treated. And we said, you know what? Aha, I think we can fix this door. And so that's what we did. And then after it was fixed, we started stocking it, and people are now using it and coming by Conan Street and picking up free food. So again, this whole process, she planned that, but it wasn't like you start out with your plan and go through it A to Z. There's so many windy, windy roads and paths. So now that this has happened, she's actualized the change. The food shelf pantry is out there actively. I want to talk about the effects of the change that's made for Lauren, okay? So one of the things that she gained was new skills, because she went to wood shop. She learned a lot about, I couldn't tell you, she'd have to talk to you about what she learned, but she learned a lot of new skills there. She also socialized with new people. There were several women also in the class that it was really cool to see, women in the wood shop, other people in the wood shop also doing different projects for their own self, their homes, building a shelf, library, all that. Also inspired others. People saw her in this class and look, oh, what are you making? Oh, that's really cool. That was able to inspire other people, right? Also got her out of her comfort zone. This was something she's never done before. She's never put together a food pantry. So this was something totally new, right? She also had creative problem solving because there's food insecurity up here. We're aware of this. So to have a creative solution and a fun one at that we can have that, super cool. That's a benefit. There's also pride in the work that she did. She put together that whole thing, and of course with assistance, right, from the teacher and from neighbors and such, but she was the one that started it. It was her idea, right? That's pretty cool. She's pretty proud of that. There's also communal benefits, right? Now folks can walk through and reap those benefits, take the food as they go. They can leave food as they go, right? You can see where the benefits come in for the community. And lastly, and probably one of the most important things I want to touch on is that she did this for herself, right? For those of you that do know me, I'm a pretty active social person. I go out a lot. I talk a lot to people. My fiance is not so much of an extrovert as myself. And so she wanted to do something for her to get out, to prove to herself that she could. And by doing this sort of thing, that makes her feel capable in doing things like this again. When you prove to yourself that even if it's scary to go to do something new, you can still do it. That tells your body, I'm safe, I'm okay, I can do hard things, right? Because there's no such thing as can't. So Lauren did all this, but you can too. So when we talk about the benefits to being a change maker, and again, an active change maker at that, I just want to say that from this moment forward, you can decide to take control and feel powerful in your life by choosing to be an active change maker. And by doing so, you reap the rewards of exemplifying your values, right? When you live in your values, you see that you make your world better, not the world, your world. Your world's better, right? And when you live in that and you're having a good time in your world, other people get inspired by that. They look at you and they say, oh my God, that person, I want to do something just like that. I want to feel that way. That gets other people motivated. And then what happens? You have a personal satisfaction with your life. Why? Because you did all this. You have everything within you today in this moment to make the changes that you want to see, right? So those are the benefits. As a change maker, I've decided to exemplify my values and beliefs by honing in on my skills to service my community. My business, BK Coordination, unites community members with community resources. I offer personal assistance with cleaning, childcare, technology assistance, and more, pet sitting, but talk to you later. For those who have ideas that you want to bring to life, I would love to meet with you and talk to you about your ideas. And just overall, I love talking to people. So please feel free to send me a message, send me an email, tell me, even just to meet up and talk. I'd love just to hear it because I want to make change together. And so that's how we're going to do it, at least in my business. And I'd love to be open to any questions. Thank you so much.
Hang on. There we go. There it is. There, it's working. Thank you so much, Brenna. Do we have questions about any of the presentation? I see you over here.
I'm pointing, but I don't have the microphone.
No, you're good.
Just want to say hi, Mom.
Thanks for doing this, Brenna, and sharing it with us. And I'm just wondering if you have already shared or are planning to share this with other groups and perhaps especially school kids, ECR kids, other places that people really need the inspiration.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny. I haven't considered yet, this was just for the Tuesday group now, but of course, bringing this to all ages is important because it doesn't matter your age, you again have those abilities to be a change maker. And kids, I think, especially need that motivation when we look at there's no lack of problems, right? And if you're looking for something to change, I mean, pull out any problem and say, I think I could do something with that. And kids see that too, and they can see that. So yeah, I definitely, I will, if I do any events, they will be posted on my website as well as Facebook. And so you can follow along. And I do have a couple events lined up this next month, but I'm getting married June 26th. And so my, thank you, thank you. So I'm gonna be really busy this next month, but after we get married, I'll be busy in July too, because I'm part of Jesus Christ Superstar too. So, but then after that, I'll have a lot more free time. So yeah, keep an eye out. We'll be doing more presentations.
I was just wondering if you could go back to the values page and pronounce all of those in Ojibwe for us.
We can all try together, actually. I'm flipping back. You're gonna do it. And I threw that in there because I personally want to learn more Anishinaabe-Moan. So part of my business for payment and such, if you ever want to either hire me as a personal assistant or if you want to do an event together for the community or what have you, it's, where's I going with that? I lost it, but you can come and talk to me about it and I'll probably remember later. Oh, Anishinaabe-Moan. So the payments that I accept are cash. I do charge $20 an hour for I feel like that's a fair price, but also I'm flexible. If you don't have that kind of money, I'm not going to turn you away. In fact, I offer bartering services and also time banking services, which I'm working on. And if you have questions about that, that could be a whole nother slideshow. So come talk to me. But there's lots of ways to, make things happen. Oh, let's do the thing. Sorry, I totally forgot. I was getting there and I stopped too fast, too slow with the thing. Me as a baby. Okay. All right, we're all going to practice together. Okay, so respect. Minwa Dinda Moen. Love. Minda. Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, I'll say it and then you guys say it next. Okay, so we'll try again. Okay. Minwa Dedan Moen. Respect. Da Gidiwen. De Wewen. Akho de Wewen. Bravery, courage. Nibwa Kawawin. Nibwa Kawin. Good wisdom. Migwe a Dizwin. Tough one, good job. And last one is humility. Deba Dizwin. Deba Dizwin. Great. I'm so proud of everybody. And if you know an Anishinaabe-Moan or Ojibwe, I'd love to learn. So that's part of the bartering.
I just applaud you. I think the world of you, and I appreciate there's like such a, I don't know, you're so clear, you're so energetic, you bring things to a level that is so inviting, and it's like both like entry level and advanced at the same time. You have such a positive energy about you, but I also know that you're working really hard on some of the hardest stuff. And I'm just curious, like, how do you fill your cup? Like, how do you connect to that infinite well? Because I know you're out there deeply invested in learning about the most grueling topics of humanity. Yet you can come here today and you can be a beacon of empowerment and hope and light. I'm like, how do you do that?
That's a great question. The trauma of childhood made me who I am today. I think that I'm the type of person who I don't have regrets. Again, beliefs have changed over time. And, if I go back to, the belief slide, there's humans are good and bad. And I love people because I see both the harm that we can do to each other, the violence that's happening in a lot of different places and in our names. And it's frightening, it's scary, there's uncertainty and a lot of fear happening right now. And I thought, boy, as much as I want to promote my business, it's not really about me making money. It's more about how can I inspire others to find the light within themselves? Because for me personally, it took me many years. I'm 34, but it's taken me a couple decades to really learn who I am, my boundaries, and just, you know, when you asked Lacey about filling your cup, I think part of my filling of my cup comes from community. I get to talk with so many great people, and I'm a gabber. My grandpa Roger, he was the people person. He would go up to folks and like waitresses, he'd like hold their hands and he'd give them a Hershey's kiss, which is why I brought candy for everybody today. He loves candy. He died from diabetes. But it isn't serious. But also he would laugh about that. It'd be all right. And yeah, I guess, I don't know. I look around and I see issues, but because I'm a person who can also see the good that people do, I look around and yeah, there's a lot of problems, but then I look at all of you and I see solutions. I see light, I see energy, I see love, I see passion, and it fuels me to do better because I want to do better, not just for myself, but for everybody around. Because when I do good for me, it impacts the community in a good way. If I were to show up here today and make a whole presentation, you know, a year ago, we did one about Ely, Palestine, and what was going on. And that was a really hard one to do. But even then, the community came out for us and stood by our side and listened. And even if you didn't agree with what we were saying, supported us through there. So I knew that coming here today and kind of being vulnerable was a way to show. And again, this is how I exemplify those values, because I want to be that person that people go to and say, gosh, I want to do what she's doing. And this is how you guys can all do it. We can all do it together. But my big things that I like to do to refresh, I go home. I'm a very social person, but when I leave jail, nap. Oh, I gotta sleep. I'm so tired. And singing and being with my fiance, loving on my cats, reading books, doing different things, challenging myself. Yeah. I got sober. I'll be real vulnerable because we have time, right? About 4 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol. I was pretty deep alcoholic for about 10 years of my life. And it came to a point where I sat down, was making a pros and cons list about drinking. I'm like, oh. And I got to the point where I thought, boy, if I don't stop myself, if I don't choose to stop, that no one's going to stop me. Because who's going to stop me, you know what I mean, from doing what I want to do? And I realized that if I continued that journey, that path, that the consequences to follow would be death. Maybe not soon, it could be years from now. But I made that change, and overcoming addiction is something people talk about that they endure every day and one day at a time. And also that in itself gave me life again. I made the choice to live. I made the choice to get sober. And when I got sober, I went to school again. I got my education. I started finding friends and family and started hanging out with this really cool coworker of mine, Lauren, who, you know, we worked at Target together, and then we started hanging out more. And one thing led to another, and now we're engaged and we live up here in Ely. I mean, when you start choosing life and choosing yourself and realize what's inside of you, the world opens up to you. It really does. And again, don't want to diminish any pain or anything, but part of the process of being who I am comes from that hard place that I came from. You can always email me. I'm happy to be vulnerable later at another time, maybe not in front of a camera, but talk to me again about that. But thank you for the question. Yeah, that was very good. And also just fill up on yourselves, you know, make sure that when we're talking about checking in with our body, that you're feeling good with yourself. And if you are feeling tired and you are feeling fussy or cranky, you know, and you're beating yourself up about, I should do this, don't should yourself. You know, do what's best for you. And it's okay to ask for help. And it's okay to be nervous and scared and not know what to do. Because we're all living this life the first time for all of us, at least from what I know. So any other questions?
This microphone and I are struggling, but I think we figured it out.
I'll just leave it on my grip. Okay. Thanks.
Brenna, I'm just curious how you ended up here in Ely.
Yeah, that's a great question. Pat, thank you. So I had never heard of Ely before my fiance. That then again, girlfriend, we were dating, and she said, I worked at Target Security, the corporate office. I worked at Brooklyn Park. She worked at the downtown location. That's how we met. And I was messaging her, and I said, "This job is sucking my soul. I need to leave, and I don't care what I do. I don't care if I live in my car and I'm living in a van down by the river." I said, "I don't care." And she told me that she was sick of, she said, "I'm getting taxed out of my home in St. Paul." She had a home that was getting raising taxes. She said, "I can't afford to live here. I have to move." And I said, "Well, let me know where you're going. I'd be interested in hanging out." And she says, "Ely." So where's Ely? South Canada. Oh, well, Roe v. Wade had just gotten overthrown. Yeah, closer to the border could be a lot better. That'd be cool. Okay. So that's actually one of the reasons why I came up, and we weren't starting to date when we moved together. We were just going as friends, and I was going to pay her for a room rental. But when we started hanging out and talking more about her background, my background, and one thing led to another, and we came up here. She wanted to come up here. The reason why she chose Ely, Pat, was because of school. She went to Minnesota College North, Vermilion, graduated with her wilderness management program. Spent 3 years working at the Bearhead Lake State Park. She's not this year, so you won't see her there. But she's at A's if you want to go check out hardware needs. But that's how we came up to Ely. And the thing about Ely is that this was supposed to be a temporary spot. Part of living for me in my childhood, we moved around a lot. And I was used to not having like a home, like a place to crash. And when I moved up here, I mean, you all know, it's the feeling, it's the people, it's where we live, it's who we live with. And we talked about moving because she wanted to get her bachelor's degree. And the more we talked about it, the more it became a realization that no, we actually love it here and we don't want to leave. So we're making Ely our home, and we're here to stay.
What a wonderful recap of so many people's stories too, how they got to this place and why we love living here. Are there other questions? I'm sure that you can also chat with Brenna after this presentation, and she does work at the gel, so you can stop in and see her when she's working here. I frequently sit while she's working and talk to her. It's a great time. And next week we will have, it's happening with this microphone. It keeps muting randomly, so I apologize. Next week, we will have Mike Valeska and one of his colleagues talking about, the presentation is titled Views Are Mine. I know it's about mining. I don't know much else at this time, but check the Tuesday group email this Friday for more details. And thank you so much, Brenna, for coming and presenting.
Thanks, guys.